and welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome to episode 19. So October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So I thought I'll do this episode to talk about how to support someone who has experienced a loss. They say 1 in 4 pregnancies end up in a miscarriage, which is a lot of people around us. You probably have a friend or family member or colleague or someone you know who has experienced a loss. So I feel that it's important that we discuss and talk about how we can support people around us and how we can also avoid saying things that might be upsetting. So I'm going to share some things that were said to me when I experienced the loss. And also when I spoke with other women who had experienced losses, they also shared with me some things they found helpful. Now, I appreciate that everyone is different and that people feel supported in different ways. However, some of the things I'll be sharing, I think will be pretty helpful for most people. So in my case, some people, like family members, show their support with food. You see, initially, right after the pregnancy loss, I just wanted to lay in bed. I just wanted to lie down. I didn't really want to do anything. So me having family members drop out home cooked meals, or some people ordered food they knew that I liked, like Chinese rice and different things like that, and sent it over to me. I found that really helpful because then whenever I was ready to eat, I could just warm it up and eat it. So that could be pretty helpful. And as well, if you visit someone or you talk to them, let them know that it's not their fault. The pregnancy loss is not their fault. There's nothing they could have done to prevent it. Because you see, many times you start to wonder, I wondered anyway, if there was something I did wrong. Was it because I ate too late last night? Was it something I ate? Was it because I was working too hard? Was it because I wasn't getting enough rest? You start to wonder and blame yourself that perhaps it's something that you did. So it's good to remind the people that it's not their fault and they haven't done anything to make this happen. If they're using their baby's name, follow their lead and also use the name. So I named my babies, from the very first time I found out, from the moment I found out that I was pregnant. So if someone tells you that the name of the baby, then do use the baby name and acknowledge that the baby was real and it was a person. And of course, the family also plan a future with that child. So just acknowledge and use the baby name. And as well, if the person would rather have some space, then just let them be at that time, because initially some people might not want to have visitors. They might just want to be left alone. But even if they say that to you, you can still let them know that you're praying for them, keep them in your prayers. You can still send them text messages often, letting them know that you're thinking about them. So don't take that to mean that they don't want you around or they're trying to distance themselves. It's just something that they might need to take some time to grieve alone. And then also validate their loss. Let them know that their loss is valid and that it's okay to grieve. Don't say anything to try to minimize the pain, like maybe it happened early. It doesn't really matter the timing. So just validate the loss and the love of a baby. And say something. Don't avoid them. So I found it really upsetting for some family members that I knew where what happened and didn't reach out. So don't ignore the person, even if it's a text message, an email, uh, call if you feel that you'd rather not go to visit. Just call them, just let them know that you're thinking about them. And even if the person doesn't call you back or text back, you can still keep sending messages just so that they know that you're thinking about them. Again, they might not want to connect at that time just because they might need some space. And let's not forget the fathers. The fathers also need lots of support. I appreciate that, of course, it's the woman that goes through most of the physical trauma, and they're the ones that actually were pregnant. But the men also need support. They also have the dreams for that child. So don't forget to give the dad some support as well. If a if a family already has a child or other children, you can also offer to maybe come take the children out for the day, just to give the couple some space to be by themselves. You can also help out maybe with any errands they want to run. In my case, I had someone send over some cleaners that they knew that I used before in the past to come help clean the house. So, this of course will depend on how close you are to the family or to the person. But if that's something that you know that they will be okay accepting from you, then you can certainly offer that as well. If you've experienced a pregnancy loss as well, or infant loss, share your own story with them. It's always so helpful when you meet somebody else that's experienced something similar, because then you know that you're not alone and they have a better understanding of what you're feeling and what you're going through. Uh, if you do go to visit and they're okay with that, you can also give them hugs, hold their hands. Of course, you have to know if your friend is comfortable uh, with being touched or being held. Um, you know, send them a card, send them a text, send them an email. Like I said earlier, I had a friend actually send me a link to a support group online. The support group was for other women who had experienced losses. So I found that really helpful because I could connect with other women who knew what I was going through and who had experienced something similar. As well, if you remember the anniversary of the baby, then certainly give them a call at that time. I did have a friend that called me on the anniversary of the loss, and it was really nice to know that she was thinking of me and remembered the baby as well. Um, you know, there are different ways to support a person. And again, if you're not sure what to say, I always say just say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry you're going through this. Um, that always helps. So whenever in doubt, just say I'm sorry. And I actually had another friend that called me on Mother's Day because again she wanted to acknowledge that she knew that I was a mom already, even though it was an angel baby, but she still acknowledged the fact that I was a mom, and I found that really touching, and I really, really appreciated that. Again, everyone is different and everyone feels supported in different ways. And if you're not sure, you can always ask the person as well how best they will want you to support them, or how best to support them. Now, when we're trying to support people, we also want to avoid saying things that could be upsetting. So I'm going to say some things that I found not helpful. So again, everyone is different, but I think lots of people that I've spoken with as well found didn't seem to like these things. So I'm going to say that it's a good idea to avoid saying any things that anything that starts with at least. So at least it happened early, at least you can get pregnant, at least you're still young, any of those kind of things. Think it's a good idea to avoid them because really, as far as I know, I don't think people work hard to get pregnant just so to get pregnant. Like they usually people that want to get pregnant usually get pregnant because they want a baby. So saying at least you can get pregnant is not really helpful. Or saying at least it happened early. It doesn't matter when it happened. People have dreams and hopes for a baby from the very moment they know. Sometimes you even have plans and dreams before the baby is before you even conceive. So don't. It's better to avoid saying that. At least you're still young. Again, it doesn't really help. It doesn't change the fact that they just had a loss. So don't say that. Or at least you're healthy. Some other people are sick. Um, again, your goal is to support them and encourage them. So let's avoid statements like that. Now, I don't know if this is a Nigerian thing, but I don't like I really didn't like people telling me it is well. I just didn't know what was well about it. Like, I just lost a baby, and some people said to me, so it is well. No, it's not well. There was nothing well about that. I mean, I know there's a song, and maybe as a song, it, it's okay because there are other lines and other lyrics in the song, but isolating it by itself and saying it is well, I found it really inappropriate. I just don't think it's something nice to say at all. Again, that's me. I don't know if somebody else likes that, but again, I think it's always best to stay with things that are safe. Uh, yeah. Also, don't try to minimize the pain. I had someone say to me, "Oh, I know someone else that had 8 losses, like 8 miscarriages," and I thought, well, okay, what does that mean? Like, I don't need to have 8 losses for me to be able to grieve the loss I just experienced. So let's try to avoid that. Try to avoid bringing up future babies. Again, I know people are trying to help, but at that moment, the person is probably focused on that one baby they just lost or multiple babies they just lost. So let's try to focus on that moment and just try to support them. And I think I know as a society, obviously we want to again encourage people and give them hope, but try to avoid things that say like, "Oh, everything happens for a reason," or uh, maybe this is part of God's plan. Like no one wants to believe that it's God's plan for them to lose their baby. So let's avoid that at that moment. Um, And if the person doesn't want to talk about it again, respect that and just not talk about it. If don't push it. If they just rather not discuss it at that time, that's fine. So I think for me, pretty much, I always say if you're unsure, like I noted earlier, just say I'm sorry for your loss. That I found always helps. So I think hopefully I've given a good idea of how we can support people around us that have experienced a loss and how we can stay and try to avoid saying certain things. So let's keep these conversations going and sharing our stories. I know that it will always encourage someone out there. And again, October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So, and 1 in 4 pregnancies end up in a miscarriage. So there are lots of people around us who experience losses. So whenever we come across anyone that has, let's ensure that we are supporting them with the right words and just keeping them in our prayers at all times. So if there's anyone out there that is listening to this episode and who has just experienced a loss, I would like to connect with me, please send me an email or you can connect with me via Instagram as well. I would love to speak with you. So I just want to remind you that if you experienced a loss, you're not alone. I am also 1 in 4. I've experienced losses and I would always love to connect with you and support you in any way I can.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.